All right. Thank you for tuning in. I just want to confirm who I have on the phone here. It is Sunil, the man behind Dubplate Special and many other clothing lines. Is it you, bro?
Yes, it is me, Sunil, chilling in sunny Bali on this lovely Wednesday morning.
That's.
Or Wednesday morning for me, Tuesday night for you.
I was gonna say we've been actually him and I have been having some fun trying to coordinate this because we spoke originally when we were only I think 5 or 6 hours difference, and then he eventually made his way across the Pacific, and now he's in Bali, and he's like a day ahead of us. But yeah, 7:30 at night for me is 8:30 in the morning for him. Wednesday versus Tuesday, and I want to talk about that. I want to talk about where you are right now. So where are you exactly? Bali, that's Indonesia, right?
Yeah, I'm on a tropical island, probably the most famous island in Indonesia. In the center part of the island, in a town called Ubud, which is like known for yoga and spirituality and like clean eating, and it's got like magical. What's the word? I don't know. Anyways, it's like magical and spiritual and like high energy, high vibe type of place.
Yeah, I looked
So
it
it's
up.
away from like.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, no, no.
Basically, the south coast of Bali is known for like party, like getting shit faced and everyone's down to fuck and like a hedonistic type of flex. And the beaches are beautiful, but they're also very dirty because there's garbage floating in from other islands of people who are like uneducated about recycling or simple throwing your trash in the garbage as opposed to throwing it into the sea. So unfortunately, down in the south, they clear about 8 tons of garbage a day,
Wow.
and the beaches it's gross. You know what I mean? Like you're swimming in the water and there's a Tetra Pak like floating beside your head, so it's kind of gross. But up here in the central part, you're not necessarily in the mountains, but you're in the rice fields. So you have like these beautiful views and nice sun all day. But also when the rainy season comes, you get more rain than the south, unfortunately. But it's the good and the bad, right? Give and take in any place that you go.
Do they experience the monsoons?
We don't have monsoon season here. We just have rainy season. So you do get like storms and stuff, but the one thing that Indonesia is prone to is lots of earthquakes. So we'll have like we've only had one, I think, and since I've been here for 3 weeks. It's minor, like five on the Richter. You don't really feel anything. Something might fall off the shelf, but
Well, I just gotta say to
that's
that,
it.
like there was an incident in Toronto about I don't know 10 years ago where we got like a 5.6 Richter, and I will talk about that day until the day I die. You've been in Bali for 3 weeks, and you say, "Oh, we've only
Yeah.
had one."
last year when I was here for a couple of months, and we had 6 or 10. The first one scared me because it was like the first time that I was actually living here and I was on my own, and like I had my routine and shit. But I was sleeping in bed and like the whole bed started. I'm like, what the hell? And I was on the second floor. So I kind of tripped and then it went away. And then there was like an aftershock or whatever. And then people were like, well, you're on the ring of fire. Like and two plates are touching or overlaying or whatever. So he goes, there's tons of volcanoes here, and one of my friends told me, there's tons of volcanoes here, and that's it. And earthquakes are just a thing. And he was right because I think that in the 2 months that I was there, it was 6 to 10 earthquakes, and they're nothing. You just carry on like whatever. And last year was when Mount Agung was supposed to erupt, and so like the Denpasar airport, which is the main city on the island of Bali, it was shut down for like 3 days and shit. It was interesting, man. Interesting times, but none of the locals were tripping. That's what I loved about it. None of the locals were tripping, and the thing for me is, this is my rule of thumb. I don't know if you like when you're flying, turbulence comes, you kind of freak out. Do you ever do that?
Of course.
Okay. So my thing is, I used to always freak out. Whenever there was any turbulence, I would like recite mantras from like, the Hindu Bible or it's called the Hindu Gita, but I would like recite them and like freak out and shit. And then one time my ex-wife told me, she goes, what the fuck are you going to do up here? If it crashes, it crashes. And you're like, oh shit, yeah, you're right. So then I wasn't going to think like that anymore. But what I would do now is I would look at the people who work on the plane. And if they ain't tripping, and they do trip sometimes, but if they ain't tripping, why the hell are you tripping, right? So that's the same mentality that they have down here. If the locals ain't tripping, Why the hell should you trip? 10 earthquakes in 2 months and they're not tripping. Cool.
Well, yeah, and I hear what you're saying. You know what? I think about that when it comes to worry and anything in life. But I don't think concern helps in any matter. Yet, as humans, I think it's natural that we do it, and
Yeah.
it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't help. There's never a time where worrying is going to help the matter, but can't help but do it. How did you? Like,
Yeah, of course.
I gotta ask. Like, how did you end up in Bali? Like, when was your first time traveling out there, and why?
The first time I came to Bali was the winter of 2015, or no, spring of 2015, around like end of February, Marchish. To be quite honest with you, I went through a brutal divorce, and the ex had made it very, very, very hard to stay in the same city. Like just the amount of lies and uh, total manipulation, and her lawyer was like out of a Cracker Jack box. It was just super dramatic. I like to tell people that whenever it comes up, I don't like talking about it, but whenever it does come up, I say that it's basic instinct or fatal attraction without the intercourse. It's everything else that you could think of, all the crazy shit that happened in those movies. Sorry, that's what happened in these like 9 months of legalities. So, anyways, when it was finally over, I was in India, and a buddy of mine hit me up, and he's like, "Yo, man, where are you?" I'm like, "I'm in India," and he goes, "Well, what are you doing in December, January, February, or January, February, March, or whatever?" And I was like, "Nothing, man, just chilling, working, whatever." And he goes, "Okay, we'll pack your laptop up and come meet me in Thailand, and we'll go to Bali. We'll go to Indonesia as well." I was like, "All right, fuck it, man." And I was like so elated that I was done this divorce, and the world was my oyster or whatever. And essentially flew over, like came home, went to Miami for Christmas, came back home, and then headed out to Southeast Asia for like this hedonistic drug drinking binge for like the next 2 months. So ended up in Bali, like on the tail end of this trip. It was a pretty shitty experience, actually, to be honest with you. I was drunk most of the time, so I don't really remember much. I didn't do anything cultural over here, sorry, because I was in the South Coast, the down to fuck beaches, party area. You know what I mean? I never ventured anywhere outside. And then I think the last week that I was there, I did something cool. I went to the Gili Islands, which is about an hour and a half drive and ferry from here, and did a discovery dive, which is where you do 2 hours in pool class, and then you do an hour out in the ocean for 15 meters under the sea. Pay $100 for it. So when I went out and did that, I met a girl from Sweden, and she's a good friend of mine now. It's been 4 or 5 years. So that was it. Anyways, that's how I ended up in Bali. And then when I 2 years later, I came back with my girlfriend, and she's into the same shit that I am, history and culture and whatever. So we were here for 3 weeks, and we just traveled around and went to different places and checked out, temples and learned about all kinds of history through guides and small tours and stuff that we did. And then I was like, then it really resonated with me. Then I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to move here. And 8 months later, I did. And now another 8-9 months later, I'm back.
And that's
how I cut. That's it, man.
Well, and that's what
it's a long-winded story.
Well, no, but I want to talk about that long-winded story for a little bit.
Sure.
I find it interesting that you're able to, like, we know you here in Toronto as the guy behind, is it Refined Clothing, Dubplate Special. You have a very. Sorry, go ahead.
DnB Refined is just a name. It's just how can I say? There was a lot of brands out there that won't be named. Some in Toronto, whatever, or one in Toronto. No, actually 2 in Toronto, that were putting out material or putting out designs that were just shitty. You know what I mean? There was really no thought. It was like I stepped up to the computer, I clicked on a bit of clip art, I added a fucking Canadian flag, or said something, or borrowed a saying from another company, and then threw that on there, and then put out these T-shirts. You know what I mean? Gave 100 of them away for free, and then charged God knows what. Who cares? At the end of the day, I'm an artist. So, and when I'm doing Dubplate Special or 45 and Pitch or whatever, I'm putting my love into it. Like if you buy a shirt now, I don't make any money from it. It like pays for the shirt, it pays for the credit cards, like the credit card fees, and it pays for the hosting. I don't care to take any money from it because this is my hobby. I love drum and bass. You know what I mean? And all the money that Dubplate Special made back in the day, and it made a lot of money. We took all of that money and we put it back into the company because the three original founders, myself included, obviously, we all had jobs. You know what I mean? We only did drum and bass for the love of it. I mean, if you love drum and bass, that's the only reason that you're working in it. Unless you're from the UK and you have 25 years under your belt, and now you're making dough. You know, in the last like 5 to 8 years, you're making mad dough. You know what I mean?
Oh, I was gonna say I just had a song signed by 10 Tons Records, and money wasn't discussed at any point. Like I don't know what's gonna happen down the road, but I wasn't like, okay, so how much is in this? Like, how much money am I gonna make? It was just, I'm fucking thrilled that they signed my song.
Exactly. I was happy that what was it? I don't know. What's his name? The guy, Shada?
Harry Shata. Harry Shata?
No, not Harry. Yeah, Harry Shata. Harry Shata was wearing a T-shirt that I did with DnB Culture as a collabo, and it said Top Shot on it. Like, I was stoked over that. I didn't care how many units I was going to move. I just cared that,
he's wearing
Harry Shata rocked our T-shirt.
Exactly.
That's sick. You know what I mean? Or some legendary dude like from back in the day. You know what I mean?
But hold on, I want to get back to what you were saying. You were saying that the reason why you started the Dubplate Special and stuff, well, the reason why you jumped back in, is because you saw some people that were pushing some gear that wasn't.
They were just pushing. Yeah, just if you're trying to represent drum and bass, well, then at least represent it tastefully. You know what I mean? You know that there's no money in it, so if you're gonna do it, put your heart into it, right? So there's a couple of brands that were just shit. So then I was like, fuck it, man. Dubplate Special was always there. It was always selling. At one point, I signed a distribution deal with DnB Culture's like parent company in a sense, and so then they were pushing my shit for a couple of years whilst I just took time off of it. I was doing all like the design for the marketing and stuff, but they were handling it. But the main guy, he wasn't putting any power behind it. He just said, "Hey, we're selling Dubplate Special now," but did like no marketing behind it, so it didn't even sell. It sold like maybe 50 units in 2 years or something like that.
You know what? Hold on. I want to talk about that scenario because that happens a lot in business where you have a manufacturer working with a distributor and both of them think that they should be peddling the product and neither one does. I'm not saying that you didn't, but I'm just saying that is a very commonplace thing where a manufacturer will team up with a distributor, and in many markets you hear this same story, and when it doesn't work out, you talk to both parties and the distributor will say the manufacturer wasn't marketing their product, and you talk to the manufacturer, they'll say the distributor didn't market my product well. And it is something, you need to find that perfect unification, I guess, of both people having a vested interest in the product. And that's why you can't just, I guess, pedal through, I'm going to have shelf space. It's got to be, this person has a passion for what I'm selling and they want it in their store. You know what I mean? Like,
well, yeah. No, and I completely agree with you. And this company that's still running today, which basically runs drum and bass culture, Rave Geek, I don't know, and a couple others, maybe names under their own umbrella. But I signed a contract. I knew exactly what I was getting. They knew exactly what they were getting. They know about me because I collabed with DnB Culture. Ravi's a really close personal friend of mine. He's a dope ass dude, and it had nothing to do with him, by the way. But what can I say? Anyways, they didn't push me like they could. And the thing is that all the design is free. All the marketing is free. This is what I do for a living. You know what I mean? I breathe this shit 24 hours a day. Well, so if you need any graphics, I got tons of graphics. Okay, I'll just throw them at you. And
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay, wait. Before I go ahead with any of that shit, the reason why it's called DnB Refined was because of all these people putting out this really whack shit. So I thought, let me refine it a little bit. So I still came back with Dubplate Special, but then I came back with like 4 other collections under that name. One is called 45 and Pitch, which is kind of like Abercrombie and Fitch, or, some type of thing where Joe Schmo from down the block will rock this t-shirt and not know that it's drum and bass laced. You know what I mean? Or Jungle Latin, or whatever you want to call it.
Well, yeah, if I could sidebar for people that might not know what you just said. So 45 and Pitch, we're talking about 45 on a record label and then pitch up. So we're talking about the speed of a record being played, right? 45 pitch.
To mix and blend. To mix and blend, man.
Yeah,
And
but here's the thing: some of my listeners
45
are not going to get that.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, but the 45 is because you play jungle at 45 RPMs, and you fuck with the pitch in order to mix the tune.
Exactly. It's
right?
all about
the
speed.
Match.
It's all about the speed. But hold on, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves, and I do want to focus in on DnB Refined and Dubplate Special, but I want to talk about what you're saying there about your job. You're a graphic designer. You do a lot of this stuff for free, yet you're out in Bali right now. A lot of people who are listening to this are people that, for the most part, wake up, they go to work, they come home, they do their hobbies or whatever, but they don't travel the world while they're working from a laptop. Is it safe to say that you are actually making a lucrative career while moving around the world and doing graphic design to make a living?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's lucrative. It's lucrative in experience. It's lucrative in culture.
Hey, you're able to pay for where you are right now, though, right? You're not.
Yeah, totally.
Exactly.
So basically, I'm not the only one. Obviously, there's a ton of people out there that are doing it. A lot of those like Instagram travelers that you'll see, like travel couples or independents, the bloggers and shit. Some of them, those people that have like over 100,000 followers, they make lots of money from doing this, and they get half their shit for free, which is pretty cool. For me, yeah, I run my company. I've been actually working remote since the internet was dial-up. So it was, needless to say, it was a bit of a challenge back then, but also the file sizes weren't as big. So who knows? Anyways, what can I say? Yeah, so I travel the world, whatever. I've been doing it on a constant for 5 years straight. I travel about 9 months of the year, and then I spend 3 months, 2 to 3 months in Canada to visit my family and stuff, and friends, obviously.
Well, and you know what? Let's go down this line, because I might not have set this up well enough to get you to create the dialogue. What I want to know is, like, a lot of people who aren't doing what you're doing want to do what you're doing, but don't because of the fear. A lot of people need the stability or the structure, and they're afraid of taking that leap. What would you say to people who want to do what you're doing but are afraid of the lack of stability or structure?
Okay, first you got to see if the job that you're doing can, the first thing, see if your job can accommodate working remotely. If you can work remote, then you can be fucking anywhere. And if you're out here in Asia, you're already ahead of the curve because you're in the future. You're 13 hours in the future. My clients love that I'm in the future. You know what I mean? It feels like the shit that they needed yesterday, now they have a little bit of leg to stand on. You know what I mean?
It's funny because, hold on, just to say to that, if you mailed something, you would say you mailed it a day ahead of time, and people are, hey, where is that? What do you mean? I sent it yesterday, but really you sent it like today to them? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But go on, sorry, go on.
Okay, so that's the first thing. If you don't have a job that can accommodate you working remotely, and not needing you, I mean, like, say it needed you to come into the office once a month, you could do that. You could fly down to South America, spend a couple of weeks, work remotely, whatever, then come back. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say that you fly all the way to Southeast Asia. It takes 2 days to get here from Canada, from Toronto, and then 2 days to get back. So it would probably be a bit of strain on your body to do that if you had to return home and check in. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, the second thing is that if that job can't do that for you, then see if you can find something, digitally speaking, that will allow you to travel the world. Like, my girlfriend is a professional and classically trained dancer, so she would work like in either big box nightclubs or productions or whatever in Miami and Las Vegas, but she's worked all over the place, like all over the world and shit, but those two places mainly. So they wouldn't, she couldn't just, pick up and go. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But then she got a job where she teaches English through a video portal with kids in China. So, I mean, she had to go through an interview process and whatnot and whatever. And the bonus is actually they only hire Canadian and American citizens. So anyone out there who wants to become a teacher, VIP kids might be your calling to go do that. That's
well, does she have to speak? Does she speak Cantonese or Mandarin, or does she just speak English?
No, you don't. You only speak English, man.
No way.
You only speak English. And the other thing is that if you have an accent, you better tone that accent down and try and accommodate a North American neutral accent.
You gotta enunciate your words.
Or whatever you got.
We don't talk like that, boy. I can imagine some like, what y'all doing talking like that?
You have to. You have to. Honestly, you have to speak like that. You can't speak with an accent, British accent, French accent, West Indian accent. You can't. They won't hire you.
Oh my god, it's so funny because I love the British accent, and it would be hilarious if a bunch of Chinese people straight out of China started coming over here with British fucking English accents.
Well, I mean, technically they can't because they're not going to learn it like that. But they're just going to learn. They're going to learn English and speak it in with their Asian accents.
You know, I picture now. Sorry, Sunil, but as you're saying, imagine if it was like an Indian guy with a strong Indian accent teaching a bunch of Chinese kids how to say hello. Like,
yeah, but they would sound the same because they speak their English the same way, man.
The
Indians and Chinese.
They do. You know what? You're right. They somewhat do. It's just that the voices sound different. It's a totally different sector. But let's go back to what you were saying there about how you travel and make a living. Like
okay, sorry. So those are your two options as far as job is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And then I literally did an interview with the Journal in Montreal, like 2 weeks ago. I did an interview asking me the tricks or things that you should know to be a digital nomad. That's the name, the trendy name they call us, the people who travel the world and work.
Digital nomads.
Digital nomads. It makes sense, man. You're switching from one place to another. I just choose to have a little bit of routine in my life because I'm over the whole, moving from city to city every few days. I can't do it. I need to stay in one place for at least a couple of months and then maybe take like weekend trips out of country or something.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, though, even in Bali, you've been traveling around. We've talked a little bit while you've been there, and you've been in a couple different places. Is that wrong in saying?
Yeah, of course, because everything's a 2-hour flight from here. So, I mean, it's a fucking no-brainer. It costs barely anything, to fly. It's reasonably cheap, you know what I mean? As long as you're not staying in 5-star Ritz-Carlton hotels, you're good to go.
How about the shutdown?
You just find it.
You talked about everything shuts down at 11 o'clock. There's no noise. Are you still in one of those kind of communities?
Yeah, that's where I'm staying right now in Ubud, in the central part of Bali. It shuts down. Some places go till 1 o'clock, the live music places, but it's literally like 3 places. That's about it, man. The rest of them all close down 8, 9, 10, and then open bright and early in the morning because there's a lot of yoga retreats out here and people doing yoga teacher training. So they're up bright and early, right? They get breaks and then they come and, patronize all the places, whatever.
Well, and you know what? The pictures that you shared are beautiful, man. Not just the sites, but your photography. You're a very good photographer. Is that something that you do as a hobby? Like, do you take photography serious?
You know what? All I use is my iPhone.
That's it.
I don't have no SLR or any of that shit. I use my iPhone. It's not even the most up-to-date iPhone. It's not even the most up-to-date iOS on the iPhone. But the end result is that when you're posting stuff on Instagram and whatever, they're based at 72 DPI. So, like, the world is your oyster. You can make fucking magic with an iPhone photo. You know what I mean? I mean, you need the right software if you really want to go at it and make it look really, really good. But you can get by with third-party apps on your phone if you really want to.
Well, I think having an eye is the most important thing, to be honest. Anyone can.
Oh yeah, definitely. Being a graphic designer, I have a better eye than most people because half the pictures that I take, even before I start editing them, and I don't even edit them. Now I've been editing them to a point where I'm putting over like a little bit of a hue or picking on the main color that's like that's showing up in the photo. You know what I mean? If there's a lot of greens, then I'll make it green. If there's a lot of pinks, then I'll give it that pink hue. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you definitely have to have an eye for it. But anyone can do it, really and truly. You just need Lightroom, a few presets. You take those presets and you create your own presets from them, and then it comes out good. I'll tell you that most people on Instagram like light, airy pastel stuff. So there's a little hint for you. If you go really, really dark and morbid, like you're pulling, you're saturating the colors and making it rich, people don't give a shit about that. And it will reflect in your likes and comments and whatever, and shares, I suppose.
That's funny, man. I'm getting insight from one of the digital heroes of our age, who's got, I'm sure, many of followers liking his photos. With that, you know what? Let's dive into the industry a little.
Sure.
We talked a little about your clothing line. We'll get a bit more into it, but I want to talk about your introduction into the scene. What was your first introduction into the jungle drum and bass scene? How did you get into it?
Oh man. So consistency. So I was dating this girl. It always comes down to a girl, man. Always, in any story. I was dating this guy, I was dating this girl. Anyway, I was dating this girl, and I've been listening to jungle since it was like, are we talking about like going to the scene, like going to a party, or just
period.
The music in general?
The music in general. We can get into the party.
Oh, the music in general. Okay, fuck the girl then. Forget about the girl. The girl has nothing to do with it.
Fuck the girl. Okay.
In '92, when me and my boys, we were listening to a lot of hardcore, a lot of acid house. Acid house was actually '89-ish, but whatever, '88, '89. But we were listening to like hardcore house, whatever. Okay. And then my boy goes off to England, and he comes home and he brings home a 12-inch of Original Nutta by UK Apache and Shy-FX. So because we were listening to hardcore, you know, this was like an easy transition into it. You know what I'm saying? Because if you really listen to those amens, those flipping hard, fast amen break, that's essentially, as far as I'm concerned, how jungle was born, you know, from hardcore. So anyway, he plays this tune, and we just go fucking mad for it, man. We're just bouncing around, jumping around. I don't know how to fucking dance this shit. Who the fuck knows? It's 1992. We don't care. We're 15, 16 years old, and we're just raving and going fucking mad, and that was it, man. That's basically the end of it. From 93 till, like, 96, I was just listening to it as the music, like going to England, buying the tunes and stuff, but never going to a party. Never even thinking that there were parties in Toronto. Like, just wasn't even in that scene. And I'll tell you honestly, it was a cultural thing because all my friends were South Asian, so Indian, Hindu, Punjabi, whatever, and they weren't into the club scene. And when I did eventually go to my first party, which was November '97, The Planet World Tour at the Latvian Community Center on like College Street, I think. Anyway, when I did go to that party, there were no Indians in that party. You know what I mean? It was me and like my two boys who were eventual founders with me with Dubplate Special, and like a couple of other friends that I dragged along. But it was all like, you know, white kids, basically. Not that there's any problem with that. It was just then it like became clear to me why I didn't go to any parties before, because I wasn't exposed to any of that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But that's it. And then from '97, I was just raving. I was raving every fucking weekend. I was raving.
Well, yeah. Hold on. I want to talk about your raving, but I just want to make a sidebar note about you brought up the amen break and how it was the evolution of jungle, and I agree that is true. There's actually, for my listeners, if anybody has a chance, Google history of the amen break, and there's a YouTube video that comes up that actually talks about songs like Straight Outta Compton and Original Nata that actually were the first to use this, that later went big into commercial advertising, this one loop called the amen break. So, yeah, look into that, I guess. But sorry, Sunil, what were you going to say?
Yeah, because it's the original hip-hop break, essentially. These two brothers made it in what, like the, I don't know, 50s, 60s, 70s?
Well, no, hold on. If you the history of the amen break, really, it's from a Smiths track called Amen Brother, and it's the B-side of an album.
Oh, that's it. Sorry.
It was, there you go. And it's a B-side. So the big thing was that it wasn't even the A-side, which was the hit for the Smiths, and the band themselves are no longer together. There's a remake of the band that's still out there, but the four original founding members are no longer with the band. Here, I'll give a little brief history on the Amen Break myself.
Go ahead, man.
Chemical Warfare, which was one of the first sample packages to come out, where you could buy these 600, 700 samples, put them on and make your own break beats or your own songs. They had a disclosure in the package that said, although you can use the samples to make your songs, you cannot use our samples to make your own sample package. Meaning you can't buy this and then recreate your own sample. Now, by doing that, they licensed the Amen Break and never had to pay royalties to the Smiths for it. And the interesting thing about that is this redistribution of sound that's taken onus. And Chemical Warfare, I think to this day, still owns the Amen Break. You people, if you're out there, you can correct me on that. But it's really actually an interesting thing. Beyond the whole jungle, the history of the Amen Break, and like you say, hip-hop culture and other musics.
Mm-hmm. It is wicked, man. And that's crazy for them. So are they still rolling in the dough, basically?
From that break? To be honest, buddy, I don't know. I would have to look into it. The stuff we're talking about right now was stuff that honestly, when I first got into jungle in like 98, 99, I really started digging deep into like, where did this come from? Where did that go? And I remember learning that like in maybe 2002 or 2003. So even my own knowledge, like as I'm digging it out of my archive, it's rusty. But I don't know, man. I don't know what happened. I'm sure that company has probably been absorbed by a bigger company by now, and they probably have the licensing rights. But the thing that I don't get when it comes to that is how do you, at a point, how do you
police it?
Yeah, exactly. How do you regulate that system? Because the aim and break at first, when samplers were first coming out, and the only way that you could take that loop was to sample it and recreate and then manipulate. Nowadays, you could recreate that sample on your own and call it something else, and just with the smallest minute manipulation, it would be legally something else. So I don't know why you would even pay a company like Chemical Warfare to use it. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
But anyways, let's go back to what you were saying there. You're talking about your first. We were about to get into your first rave experience. So you talked about how you got introduced to the jungle music. What was your first time? Well, you kind of talked about your party, but what was the actual first time? What was the first party? Do you remember?
That was the first party.
Which one?
I just said it.
Which one?
It was November 21st, 19. Actually, look at that. What year are we in? It was 21 years to the day today.
No shit. November 20th.
Today's the 21st. Well, 20th for you, 21st for me.
See, here you go into the future again.
Yeah, look at that, man. 21 years to the day today that I went to my first jungle party.
Who was at it? Sorry?
It was Planet V World Tour, so it was Jumpin' Jack Frost, Brian G, Dynamite, and someone else. I don't remember.
Dynamite was around way back then, eh? I'm sorry,
I'm pretty sure it was Dynamite. Or no, it was Moose. Sorry, it was Moose.
Moose. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it was Moose. Yeah, Moose. Sorry, my bad. And someone else. I can't remember the third DJ. And it was at the Latvian Community Center on College Street.
Oh yes,
and,
I remember.
I was rolling with the infamous Aurora crew, 187 Records crew. They were like, whenever Stevie Hyper D would come to Toronto and MC, he would always shout them out. Always. He was also with Navigator. Navigator used to always shout them out too, man. They were like a big crew from Aurora, that town north of Toronto, about 30 minutes north of Toronto.
To be honest, I only know about them because Stevie Hyper D shouted them out, and the way he would say "Aurora Crew," you're like, 187 record. Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah. So basically, the main kids of that crew. I guess there was no definite leader or whatever, but the main kids of that crew. One of them, his name is BJ, and he was the first cousin to my girlfriend at the time. And she's like, "You listen to this music all the time. Maybe you should meet my cousin B." He goes to these parties. I'm like, what? There's fucking parties? I'm like, how old am I at the time? I'm like 22 years old. And I'm like, what? There's parties? I'm in. Sign me up, man.
Well,
and anyways, 2 years later after that, 2 years after 97, March 99, we started Dubplate Special.
And that's what
I had a dream. I had a dream one night about naming it Dubplate Special. I didn't hear, the track by L Double. I didn't hear anything remotely associated with the actual words Dubplate Special. I just thought of it at night one day because I was like, we're going to be the new dope track, and, you can only play a dubplate 50 times before it throws in the bin. Well, ours is a special. It never goes away. That was my reasoning for making that.
That's cool, man. So that was the thought.
Yeah, man.
That's it.
Oh, man.
Well, okay, so that's how you started Dubplate Special. That's how you got your name brand. Let's get into DnB Refined. So you've been doing Dubplate Special for so many years. When did you decide to shift, I guess, the brand in a bit and create the lines like 45 in pitch and DnB Refined? When did that all
45 in pitch I always wanted to do, but one of my partners wasn't feeling it, which is fine, whatever. But I would design little things and just keep it to myself or whatever, make some t-shirts for myself. And then I think in 2009, I don't know, whenever one of my partners didn't really do much. He kind of he was there for input. He was there because he was there from the beginning. You know what I mean? He's a solid cat. He'd do anything for anyone. But as far as the creative was concerned, he had no no touch in it. So it was me and BJ who were the main guys that created all the t-shirts and stuff. And so when BJ got married, he basically didn't want to do it anymore.
Is this the same BJ that brought you to your first party?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, keep going.
Aurora Crew. Yeah. Yeah. So, and basically, Sean also was this guy named Sean Ernston and Brian Jaggernaut. These were the two guys from Aurora Crew 187, or not one. Sean, I don't think was 187 Records, but anyways, whatever. Those two were from Aurora Crew. I met them. They took me with their Aurora Crew to every party, you know, as many parties that I could roll to as possible, which were a shit ton. Like, I think when Toronto was super spoiled back then, you know what I mean? Like 2-3 parties a weekend. I was going to every party. It was mad. Anyway, when BJ got married, he didn't want to do it anymore, basically. And I can understand. He had all the inventory in his house, you know, like, it was a bitch to, like, go drive around and drop off shit or mail. Like, I mean, even to go to the post office and mail packages and stuff, it gets annoying, right? When you don't have, like, we didn't have, like, scheduled days, like, okay, on Friday we're going to ship all of these out. We just shipped them as they came, you know? Anyway, so he didn't want to do it anymore, so I just took it. I took whatever money he had, like saved, whatever, you know what I mean, that was in the bank or whatever, and then took all his inventory and just tried to push it all, and then took all that money and made some creative decisions on my own. My ex-wife helped with a little bit of it, but made all these like decisions and made some really shitty decisions, to be quite honest with you, and lost almost all the money that I put in. Like, it was just sitting in stock. It came to a point where I was just giving the shit away. Because the designs, I don't know, either the designs weren't good or I can't even remember why. It just wasn't well done. So then that lasted like 2 or 3 years of doing that shit. And then I don't remember a lot because I just do so much, man, to be quite honest with you. It's like not the drugs. I didn't do enough drugs to lose my fucking memory. But I can't really remember. There's like a little gap for a few years. And then when I started DnB Refined, that was like 2.5 years ago, maybe. I just called it DnB Refined, but the problem was that I didn't mention Dubplate Special. I didn't mention 45 Pitch. I didn't mention any of these other lines that I was teasing. I just called it DnB Refined. So here comes this new line, and no one knows what the fuck it is. How the hell are you supposed to get out the gates if you have nothing pushing you in the beginning without buying followers or some shit, you know what I mean, in this day of social media? Anyways, only lately have I brought back, like, saying, like, hey, this is actually the Dubplate Special line. This is actually the 45 and pitch line. This is actually the whatever line. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But all of them have the iconic back-to-back DJ symbol. That's, like, super synonymous with Dubplate Special.
It is.
Which is actually, if anyone wants to know a little tidbit, one of the dudes from 187 Records Aurora Crew, his name is John Jenny. He's super not in the scene anymore. But he's a solid dude. He was a solid dude back then. I'm sure he's a solid dude now. He was, we were DJing on a makeshift DJ setup where we were using the earphone of the headphone as the speaker to, like, do our, like, mock MCing or, you know, hosting or whatever the hell. Mm-hmm. And he was spinning a track or whatever, and I took a picture of him. And this is before, you know, digital cameras and shit, so where you printed it out. So I printed out this photo, scanned it, cut him out, albeit in a really shitty crop, and then put his back, like mirrored him, made it a solid color, and then that was our logo. Before we put the ring around it and, like, really cut off a few bits at the bottom and stuff. But actually, if you ask Marcus Visionary, he has a basketball jersey that says Visionary on the back, or DJ Marcus on the back, I think. And it has the original John, we call it the John logo, hence it's named after John, without the ring around it. And now it's like this iconic symbol or whatever.
You should relaunch it. You got to relaunch that. You got to do one shirt at least that relaunches that image.
That image, yeah. So no, it's intertwined in all the DnB Refined designs. It's there.
Well, hold on. I don't mean the logo I don't mean the one that you eventually made nice with the ring around it. I mean the old school one that's a throwback to John.
Oh, yeah.
Throw that one back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I could actually do that. And the writing, it said Dubplate Special Clothing Company, I think, all around it, and it was in a mock Hindi writing, but in English. Samarkand, I think, is the name of the font. Doesn't matter. Anyway. Man, that was and that was like before my spacing between letters was on point. It was like when I was just getting out the gates as a graphic designer, so I didn't know about any of that shit.
That's cool, man. It's you know.
Sorry, I'm reminiscing whilst I'm talking to you because I don't really give too much thought to all that stuff back then.
That's what this is all about, though, bro. Honestly, I love to hear that because that's what these conversations are all about. And even listening to you tell it, I love it because I do remember the first time I saw that symbol. I think it was on a jacket, and I was like, that is the coolest fucking jacket I've ever seen, and I wanted one, and I never got one. I've never had that symbol. I've had. I think I've shown you the tracksuit that you guys gave me way back in the day. But
yeah, would it have just the little? It just had the little Dubplate Special.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not wearing it right now. But yeah, it had the Dubplate Special graffiti kind of logo, and it looked like an Adidas tracksuit. You know, with the colors of black and white.
Seeing.
But it was nice. But I also had. Remember the one with the fist, and it said, "I'm a junglist." I think that's all it said. And it said, "Now I." And now I think. I understand.
Yeah, now I know and I understand.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's like Junglist 3 or Junglist 4, like style number 4 or whatever.
That was you, right? That is you. Okay, good.
Oh yeah.
I had that.
Whenever
shirt.
It says "Now I know and I understand" underneath and most of the shirts back then, it would have like a little tag, like a little screen print on the back or a stitching on the back that would say Dubplate Special or something or other.
I loved it.
Nowadays, I don't do that anymore.
I don't know what happened to that shirt. To be honest, I'm sure you have clothing that someone's like, that was my favorite, whatever. And it's like, whatever happened? I guess when we moved, or I must have accidentally thrown it out or left it at a club. I don't know. But
yeah, I can believe leaving it at a club, man. You can get real hot inside the dents.
Oh, definitely, man. I remember numerous times my clothing just becoming so wet in sweat that I would literally just discard it because the colors were bleeding. Like, you'd go in with like a white T-shirt and come out with like this pinky orange thing, and it's just like, just get rid of that. That's done. But okay, so go ahead.
I actually have almost every design. I kept one of each design of Dubplate Special.
Where do you keep them if you're traveling around the world?
My mom's basement, of course.
Of course. Where else would you?
Of course, man. Where else? I don't have no house. I have no house, no car. I have no assets other than, I don't know, one TFSA and a laptop and a phone. I don't have anything, man. I've traveled completely bare bones. I have 10 days worth of clothes in my bag, and I travel for 9 months a year.
Do you carry it like with the stick and the little handkerchief on the end?
Yeah, totally.
Here comes Sunil.
I'm a vagabond, baby.
That's it. The digital gypsy. That's
no, I got a few more things, man. I would though, if I could. If I could carry everything onto the plane, I definitely would. Unfortunately, I have to check most stuff in. You know.
Totally. But okay, so we learned a little bit about the clothing line. And by the way, always, if you guys want to buy his clothes, we're gonna have links down below. So please support the scene, support Sunil, and support his next trip to Bali. With that, I want to ask you. I know it's kind of hard for someone like yourself who's traveling as much as you do, but you've been in the scene for a long time, and I want to know what changes have you noticed from the day that you entered our scene to where we are today.
Oh man, I entered during the gold rush. I entered the scene when, like, you know, there was, like I said, there was 2-3 parties every fucking weekend. There's probably more than that. I just didn't know of the venues, or I wouldn't go to them, or whatever. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like Milano's on a Sunday night. Comfort Zone, if you just wanted to continue partying and eat your slices of fruit and be fucking merry. Anyway.
Hold on, I want to engage that because Milano's on a Sunday night, for those who don't remember, was if you couldn't make the party and you didn't know any better, you'd usually pay $20-$25 to see a lot of the UK headliners if they were doing a Friday or Saturday night party. But they usually didn't fly out until the Monday or Tuesday. Therefore, you could catch them for $5 at Milano's. And that was a big thing to have. Like, now we have baseline church Sundays or whatever, which once in a while you will still get that. But yeah, there was something to be said about, and then you talked about Comfort Zone being an after hours. I used to go to Sunshine Wayne's, and we would hang out in the alleyway because Wayne's would close down at 7 a.m. and Comfort Zone didn't open until 9 a.m. So you'd have this 2-hour period, and we would either go to the Waverly Hotel because they would charge you by the hour, so you could actually just buy 2 hours in the hotel, or hang out in the alleyway behind the Comfort Zone. And I remember you'd go there on like a Sunday or Monday morning, and it would just be filled with all these ravers, and they all looked like candy kids. You were talking about growing up listening to hardcore and acid, because that's what it looked like at first. They didn't. The Junglist at look evolved.
Oh yeah, man. The ladies weren't so ladylike back then.
No, they had.
You know what I'm saying?
Do you remember the spike look with the spiky hair, where they'd have the comb down to the front and then the spikes in the back? I loved it.
Oh yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah, I did too. And they would wear like, an oversized men's shirt with like a super tight choker around their neck. They'll have their soother attached to it, and then all kinds of fucking friendship.
Well, yeah, and it's an oversized men's dress shirt too. That's it.
Dress shirt. Sorry.
You know what? I'll tell you. Yeah. I used to wear. I can't believe I'm admitting this, but I used to wear a belt of stuffed animals. So there was different stuffed animals.
On your UFOs or some shit?
Dude, totally on my UFOs and my big ass bell bottoms, and I used to give out the toys. I used to like go up to girls and be like, "Hey, do you want a giraffe?" or "Hey, do you want a dolphin?" And I'd have these different stuffed animals stuck on my pants. And oh my god, those were the days. And to be honest, I say to people to this day, when I got into jungle, you talked about this too, about it being more about the culture than the music. It was like that for me too, because my first time going to a jungle party, I was actually there to see Daft Punk, and I ended up in the jungle room, if you remember Cyrus 6 Year.
Oh, I remember that party. I was there, man. That party was sick.
That was a sick
party.
Daft Punk, too. Okay, so
the setup was sick.
It was amazing, dude. So that was my first experience with jungle music. But I ended up in the room, and I remember the music didn't attract me. It actually was. I thought it was really fast and weird sounding.
Yeah.
But the people, I was like, these are my kind of people. I like these people more. They seem like they're a clique, that they all know each other. And that was like watching guys like tap each other on the shoulder and hug like they hadn't seen each other in years, and everybody kind of mingling and talking. I wanted to be a part of that family, and that's how I got into jungle. The rest is history. But
yeah, man.
Yes, going back to what you were saying there about the fact that you grew up in the golden age, and when Milano's was rocking on Sunday.
Fuck, man.
We still have. Here's the thing I say. We still have somewhat of that happening, but it's not what it was.
Okay. But you know what? It's Toronto spoiled once again. The love has come back for jungle drum and bass, and I love it too, man. It's all good. We're having those parties 2-3 times a week, whatever. You know what I mean? And you do have the Milanos, kind of like you're saying. The church. Where's church? Is Toda? Does Toda still exist, or it's no more? Is it Baseline now?
Baseline, yeah. It's on Dundas, is it? West?
No. I've been there. I was just trying to confirm that that's where the church Sundays is.
Yes, that's where it is.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, so it like I was saying, okay, so late 90s, early 2000s, it was fucking wicked. Then the government came and shut it down. Whatever. What do you do? And then it kind of died off a little bit. There were still parties going on because I was throwing parties. You know what I mean? Or I was teaming up with other people, or just facilitating, because I facilitate Nicky Black Market's bookings in Canada. So, I mean, I was helping out with that whenever he would come. Almost every time that he came to Toronto, I was doing, like, handling his shit for him. Since like, back then. And then it came back, let's say, in the last 5 years? 5 or 6 years?
The revitalization of our
scene. You agree with
that?
Scene. Yeah, the revival of the love of this sound, and we got great producers coming out of this city, and like really good producers coming out of this city.
You know what's interesting that you say that? We were talking, a friend of mine and I recently, about the amount of producers that are coming out, and what a great thing that is.
So many.
We always wanted Toronto to have its own sound, but we always just spun other people's music. The problem, though, the double-edged sword in this, is that we're losing DJs, because everyone's now focused. So these guys are great producers, but you put them on the decks and they're not necessarily the greatest DJs. And you need to be that full package. Like, you can't just be a producer, go up and hit the play button and then crossfade over to your another song. You got to be able to mix your tunes, or just let someone else do it.
But hold on. Let's be honest. This is Toronto we're talking about, right?
Yes.
You have a better chance of making it as a producer than making it as a DJ in this city.
But you're not
You
going
know
to
what I
make.
mean?
Here's the thing. I agree with you, but in my experience in talking to people, if you're going to make a career, a lucrative career out of music, you need to be able to tour. You make more money off of doing live shows than you do off the sale of your song. And I've talked to some big producers.
Of course, but in the politics of Toronto, you're not fucking getting very far. I don't mean to like call shots or anything. I don't know the like, you know, the intricate, in-depth way of how Toronto works, but I know that throughout the years, the kids on top have remained the kids on top. You know what I mean? And the guys that are up and coming have kind of stayed in the holding pattern. Maybe a couple of them have broken through. But I'm sure there's mad politics in every fucking city. I'm just saying that in Toronto, you're probably better off becoming a producer and spinning somewhere else than trying to spin in this city.
What I would say, that's another conversation we had recently. Somebody was talking about hanging up the headphones because they've been spinning for 20 years and trying to make it, and they don't feel as though they're ever going to get booked by the promoters in our city. And
no,
here's the thing. What I say to that is this: throw your own party. If you can't beat them, just go beat them. You know, like, or sorry, if you can't join them, beat them. And that's the thing, like, even
and that works, and that does work. Trust me, it does work. I do know a couple of DJs that, you know, they did do their own thing, and then they got noticed and they got put on. I also know a couple of guys that were doing their own thing. They got noticed and they got ripped off. You know what I mean? So I guess it's a total he said she said situation. You know what I mean? I think that if you want to make it in, but you can't make it in, then I agree with you. You throw your own parties, but you do your own marketing. Stuff is so accessible nowadays. Life is so fucking easy nowadays. You know what I mean? It was much harder back then. Now it's so accessible and so easy. I mean, I guess it could be kind of hard because now it's accessible to everyone. You know what I mean? So there's more competition. But I just think that if you want to make it as a DJ, everything's at your fingertips here. You don't have to travel far and wide, you know? Or make phone calls, and if that person doesn't have a double line and is busy, then you got to call back later.
Those were the days. Those were the days.
The rotary phone to the button phone to the giant fucking Zach Morris cordless phone in your house, not even a damn cell phone yet.
I was going to say, that sounds like somebody who's more technologically advanced than I ever was. I never had I had a pager when I was like 13.
Yeah.
I remember I had a pager, but I didn't have a cell phone until I was like, I don't know, 19, 20, I guess. Like wasn't
same with me. But how old are you?
I'm 34.
34. Okay, so I got 8 years on you.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a cell phone when I was my first cell phone when I was like 19, I think.
So I would
had
have
a
been
burner actually. I had a burner phone when I was 19. Not even a real phone.
That's a burner phone is like a ghost line, right? Like where somebody's stolen the phone.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a ghost line that you could make international calls for free.
That's
I remember that burner phone.
It was
that Motorola Flip, that big fat Motorola Flip.
Was it a mic phone? Remember with the doodle-loop, doodle-loop, where you could like walkie-talkie people? Doodle-loop, hey, da-da-da. Remember those?
It was a Motorola.
Motorola
made
those.
The mic phone was a mic phone.
Wasn't mic made by Motorola? Am I wrong?
Yeah, but it was specific to Mike, the service provider.
Well, and you know what?
Mine was Cantel.
I could tell you.
My burner phone was with no one. Sorry.
No problem. I was just gonna say I could tell you a funny story about one of those mic phones. I happened to find one once, and I went into the guy's address book, and I just started calling people, and finally one guy called me back, and he's like, "Hey Mike, where are you?" And so now I knew my name was Mike, right? And I'm like,
okay.
I'm up on the 4th. He's like, all right, I'll be right there. I'm like, okay, so this guy's on his way to the 4th, whatever that means. And so then he pages me back like a couple minutes later. He's like, Mike, I'm here. Where are you? I'm like, oh, I had to go downstairs. I'll be right back. All right. And then eventually about like 15 minutes later, I guess they had caught on. The real Mike had phoned in and they figured out that some kid had stolen his phone or something. And they paged back saying like, hey man, whoever you are, you're being a dick. Just give the phone back. And I remember by that point I was like in a coffee time with like 7 of my friends all hurtled around laughing our asses off. We were kids. Don't judge me today. I wouldn't do that. But
yeah, man.
We were children. And yeah, it was funny because for the prank call, for the person who enjoyed the prank call, you didn't have to have the person answer the phone in this case. They just automatically got. So I remember a buddy of mine actually, went into a convenience store and he happened to be holding his microphone in his hand while he was pointing for cigarettes. And I started yelling obscenities into his phone. And you could see the guy behind the counter was like, get the fuck out of here. But anyways, okay. I've got a couple more questions.
Sure.
They're fun ones, so let's have some fun. So if you could put 4 faces for a Mount Rushmore of drum and bass, who would your 4 faces be?
Goldie, Ronnie Size, Stevie Hyper, and I have the one I want to, but then I have one that
I can think of one that you haven't said that's going to be very upset if you don't say him.
Can I cut half of the thing? No. Nikki Black Market.
That's who it was.
For sure. Yeah, Nikki Black Market for sure. But I was thinking about this a couple of days ago. Huh? I would put up his face. I would, but
I said no. You're putting up a 5th face, aren't you? You're going to try and throw a 5th face.
Oh, a 5th face. Yeah, I would like to put a 5th face, but I can't remember it now. If it comes back to me whilst we're talking, I'll just interject.
Okay. By any means, you can interrupt at any time and let me know who that 5th face would be. Okay, so the final question is, and this time I will give you 5 to work with. If you could put 5 items in a vault that would encapsulate our rave culture. So in like 20,000 years, someone's going to dig up this vault and they're going to want to know what the rave was. What would those 5 items be?
And it could be anything?
It could be anything. It could be a whole club. It could be people. It could be a sound. It could be anything.
Okay, so I would put 2 records in there. I'd put Clear Skies by DJ Die, and I would put Trick the Technology by Prisoners of Technology in there. I would put, what club would I put in there? I'd put a club in there for sure. I would put Bagley Studios in there. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it was a huge film studio in behind of King Cross Station in central London, and they threw the maddest fucking raves in there, like the absolute maddest raves, man. You talk to anyone from England or London specifically about Bagley's film studio, or if Bagley's, whatever, they just call it Bagley's, and they'll tell you about it, man. And I went to one party in there, and it was fucking insane, and it was huge. Anyways, so I would throw that in there. That's 3. I'd put the first Dubplate Special shirt in there.
Okay.
4. I don't even have the first Dubplate Special shirt, so that would be more for me than anyone.
I thought you archived everything.
I archived everything except for the first fucking shirt.
Remake
first shirt I do not have.
Do you remember the design? Can you remake it?
I actually have the front graphics. I don't have the back graphics for it. I'd have to see where they are. But because I also kept all the graphics. You know, when Photoshop was like at number 3 or number 4, and now it's at like 16 or some shit. Anyway,
so that's
what's
4.
that? I'm at
You're
4,
at 4,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
One last
5,
item.
5. What would I put in my drum and bass vault? Fuck.
And to my listeners, this is not the first time. Sunil and I talked once before, so he is somewhat prepared with these questions. So when he has a silent moment like this, I'm a little perplexed because he knew the question was coming. You heard him say in the previous one that he thought about this a couple days ago. So he knew these questions.
I thought about the 5th face. I mean, I thought about the 4th face, and I was going to replace Nicky. Nicky's my brother. I love him to bits. But I mean, like, I was going to replace him, and I thought, you know, this other person's done more. But actually, no, because Nicky's been doing it since fucking, I don't know. He's been doing it for a long time. Anyways, no, Nicky's that 4th face, so that I will not change. But the 5th thing I would put in my record bag, wasn't I perplexed even the last time? I only got 4 in?
I don't remember, buddy. But it's not a record bag, it's the vault. You're not putting anything in a record bag. Whatever it is. I like that. Whatever the fuck.
My magic hat.
Yeah, I don't care what your hypothetical inanimate object is.
That's 42. That's 42 talking right there. Like, grunt, you know, grumble. Not old man, but, you know, old enough. Fuck.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think my fifth thing would put the Toronto drum and bass scene into it.
All of us.
The whole of it. The vibe, the love, the fucking sweat, the sound, the bass lines, everything. All of that shit would be all into one tiny little fifth addition to my vault.
That's awesome. Well, you know what? We're just hitting on the 1 hour mark right now. Excuse me. With that, stay on the phone with me. I'm going to sign off to my listeners, but I want to talk to you still, okay?
Sure.
If you have any sign-off words, go ahead and say them now. Otherwise, I'm going to sign off.
If you want me to what? Oh, like say what?
If you have any
Links
final
and
words.
shit?
Yeah, do you have anything you want people to visit? Any up-and-coming...
Oh, final words.
Yes.
Final words is the best. Okay, you know what? Everyone, whatever you're doing, get outside of your house. Go somewhere. Go in your backyard. Go within 5 kilometers of your house. Jump on a plane. Fly around the fucking world. I don't give a shit what you do. Just go outside. Take a breath of the air out there. And enjoy your fucking life, man. Everyone's busy. Everyone's in the rat race, whether you're working from home or you're going to go get groceries or pick up your kids from somewhere, or you got your, Bay Street job or Wall Street job. Who gives a shit? Just get the fuck outside, man, and enjoy this life and smell, hear, taste, watch, absorb everything you possibly can. Because life isn't short. It is one long, arduous road if you make it, or it could be one fucking amazing trip. You never heard no one say, what is it? Time flies when you're having fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's obscenely fucking snail-like when it's a shitty fucking time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No one says time flies when it sucks. Right?
No, I totally
So
agree.
that's my advice. And that's my advice in anything. Whether you're traveling, whether you're going to a fucking drum and bass rave, whether you want to be a successful DJ, whether you want to do anything, just fucking get outside and absorb it all. And then take it and make it work for you.
Some words of wisdom coming from Mr. Sunil Gupta. Did I say that right?
No.
No?
Not at all.
I butchered it.
Sunil Gupta.
There you go. There it is. It's my Munja
It's all
Cake
good,
accent
man.
trying to enunciate a fucking Indian name. But anyways, like I say, stay on the phone with me. We're going to continue talking, but I'm going to sign off, okay? So hold on. All right, well, that was him, guys. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. I love talking to this guy, one of 3 men behind Dubplate Special and the new DnB Refined. Like I say, links will be below if you want to get on the gear. Otherwise, as always, thanks for tuning in, and until next time, peace out.